delighted that we have the opportunity to welcome this New York +20 group here at the Ford Foundation because for us, one of the key challenges and what we're hoping to see coming out of Rio +20 is a new engagement and a new vision on what the future of sustainability needs to be. We're not going to have the Rio +20 conference be like Rio '92, where the basic conventions that have defined the environmental agenda over these last 20 years emerge. We clearly are going to need to see Rio +20 be the space where the fundamental questions about what the development agenda for the world needs to be going forward, where we bring together the efforts for poverty reduction and the key questions on the future of development together with the vision of sustainability that has defined the meetings from Copenhagen in '72 to Rio in '92 to the meeting that we're going to see this June. That question of how we move to a vision of justice and development that is inclusive, that moves us from a world where some communities and some countries have seen great prosperity and great capacity to accumulate wealth and to live secure lives, in contrast to billions of people that continue to live in poverty, is not a sustainable world. And how are we going to bring that vision to inform not just how we reduce poverty, but how we shape development in ways that take us to sustainability is what Rio has the opportunity to do. And it's an urgent need that we have. It's not going to be possible to have 120 world leaders and many delegations of government together with the key groups of civil society together again. We're going to be in 2015 in a couple of years. We're going to have the fundamental questions of what happened with the world's commitment to poverty reduction that came together in the Millennium Development Goals. And we're going to have the irreversible changes that are leading to climate change and expanding the risks that the world population faces today get to a point of basic inflection from which it will be very difficult to come back. So we have to make Rio not a meeting that ends with a specific outcomes that we can just say we're done and we have completed our work. We have to make Rio be the basis for the engagement that is going to take us forward. And it's going to take time. It's going to take more than what we're going to have in Rio. It's certainly not going to happen by June of this year. But if we're not able to come up with that vision and to reinforce the commitments of governments and of civil society to move us forward, we're going to have missed an incredible and possibly critical opportunity to move this agenda forward. So I'm hopeful and excited to have this opportunity of coming together in Rio, but recognize that if we're not able to mobilize youth, if we're not able to bring their engagement and energy, ambition, and their capacity to challenge my generation and to challenge governments and to make it clear that we're not just going to let it pass, we're not just going to let it go on in the way that it has evolved in the last decades, things are not going to happen. So we need this mobilization, we need this incredible energy that youth brings, and we're hopeful that meetings like this New York +20 will be the basis to mobilize, to engage, and to enrich the dialogue in Rio.
Wonderful. And the last question is, after what had happened in Copenhagen at COP15 and the hype that is happening now at Rio, are you concerned that there will be the same sort of outcome?
Well, I hope not.
And what are the biggest challenges?
Right. I mean, I think the challenge is that we're going to need to sustain this effort, that it's not going to be possible to rely solely on governments. I think Copenhagen demonstrated that if we solely depend on the government's capacity to come together and solve these fundamental problems, these complex problems, if we expect that it's going to be a matter of coming up with a technical solution, with simply figuring out what the right formula for carbon trading or whatever other technical solution there is, if we are expecting that that's what's going to turn the world into a sustainable path, we're not going to succeed. And Copenhagen was a meeting with great expectations, and of course at a time when The world expected the government leadership to come together and move this agenda on climate change forward. And the failure of Copenhagen has affected us all, has affected the environmental movement, has affected the engagement of civil society. Rio is the opportunity to re-energize, to re-engage, to mobilize this commitment again. And that's what I'm hoping that will emerge from Rio, that it will help us turn the page on the disillusionment and on the exhaustion that was in many ways emblematic of what happened in Copenhagen. We need this engagement. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to wait another 10 years for this to happen.
And that's exactly why the slogan for Rio+20 is the future we want. Well, thank you so much for coming here and supporting the New York +20 event and supporting young people in sustainable development, the only event of its kind here in the United States that brings together youth and informs them and engages them on these very critical issues.
Right. Well, thank you for organizing, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you in Rio and having you bring many people that are committed to Rio.
Well,
it's going to be critical.
Well, absolutely.
Okay.